Hey everyone, this is our screencast on Catherine the Great, a nice short screencast to give you the information you need. This is Catherine. She was not raised in Russia. She came from Germany. She's a German princess, and she was betrothed to the future Tsar, Tsar Peter III, which is the grandson of Peter the Great, um, when she was 15 years old. So she leaves her family, and she goes to Russia when she's 15 to learn Russian customs and tradition and religion so that she can marry Peter III. So she goes to Russia, she learns the language, she embraces the Russian Orthodox Church, and she really does a great job of winning the loyalty of Russians. They're very kind of suspicious of her in the beginning when she comes from Germany, but after a number of years, she doesn't get married for about 5 or 6 years, but during that time, she really is able to kind of woo the royal court and charm them and really make a place for herself within Russia. She does a very nice job of that. So she's able, when she's old enough, to marry this guy. This is Peter III. And 1762 is up there because in 1762, Peter III is actually assassinated. Peter and Catherine get married, and now he is in line to become Tsar. The only problem is he actually, just because he's Peter the Great's grandson, doesn't necessarily mean that he was raised in Russia. He actually was raised in Germany as well. So Peter's daughter moved to Germany and raised Peter there, and he considers himself actually a German. He wants nothing to do with the Russian nobility. He wants nothing to do with Russia in general. He just is obsessed and he's very nationalistic about his German culture. He spends most of his days making people dress up in uniform and march. He makes the troops march day in and day out, and this is kind of how he fills his days. He doesn't want anything to do with the Russian government or policy. He really just wants to play soldiers. And what he does is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back is that he uses the regular military to dress up and march, obviously, but he starts to make them dress up in German uniform, and he wears his German officer's uniform. And this is very insulting to Russians, and obviously they're not going to be very fond of him. They know that he doesn't make good decisions. When he does offer opinions, it's not in the best interest of Russia. It's just about what he wants and kind of his own selfish needs. So while Catherine is kind of ingratiating herself to the Russian public, Peter III is kind of separating himself from them. They don't support him, they don't like him, they're very fearful of when he actually becomes Tsar. They don't want it to happen. So in 1762, they successfully assassinate him, and how they do it is that they they take Catherine. Catherine actually goes with them, and she understands that they want to depose him. They want Peter to not become Tsar, and they want to place her in charge as a Tsarina. So she actually goes with the military troops. They're going to make sure they're going to actually arrest Peter III, and they go, and she actually, she gets in her military regalia, and she wears pants, she gets on her horse, and she goes with them to kind of overthrow Peter. And so once they get to him, they throw him in prison, and this is where the assassination place plot takes place, is when he's in prison. Um, the goal is to keep him there, and then if anybody ever tries to free him or stage a prison break, then they have the right to assassinate him. So supposedly there are 3 people that go in to try and free Peter, and because of that, the officers that are in charge of Peter III's care, they end up beating him to death actually, and that is why Catherine is able to be placed on the throne. They assassinate Peter, and Catherine has no idea. Supposedly, she had no idea that the assassination plot took place, and she is able to easily take control of the country. Okay, now there's no threat from Peter, and they're able to get rid of him and put Catherine on the throne. Okay, so Catherine gets to work very quickly. She wants to reorganize the government. She obviously has to put her supporters in charge of things. So she wants the people who helped her with the coup and helped her with the overthrow. She wants them in important positions to support her. And obviously, those guys are going to be part of the nobility. Okay, so she gives them those supporters. She gives them special jobs within the government. She codifies laws to make them easier to read, and she begins public education for boys and for girls. She also kind of, like Peter, enforces or supports serfdom. And she does this because the people who are in charge of the serfs are the nobility. And the nobility are many of the members of the noble classes and of the military, the upper officers in the military. They supported her takeover. So they supported her, and now she feels like she needs to kind of back them up because she doesn't want to lose their support. So she allows them to have serfdom and allows them to have complete control over these people's lives. She also exempts them from taxes so they don't have to pay taxes, which in turn um, leaves the peasant classes to pay for taxes. Okay, so that's what she does internally. When I say internally, I mean within Russia. She also is very successful with external expansion, so things that are occurring outside of Russia. When I say expansion, I mean gaining more land. And she gains more land along the Black Sea. If you remember, Peter originally gained a warm water port on the Black Sea from the Ottoman Turks, but it only lasts about 10 years. So Catherine definitely wants to gain that back to expand trade. And she's able to do that. She's able to secure a warm water port in the Black Sea. Okay, she is also able to look towards Poland to look for more land. The only problem with this is that there are two other countries surrounding Poland, and that's Austria and Prussia. And they're all kind of looking at Poland, who is very ununified. They've got a very horrible government. It doesn't make much sense. It's a little backwards. So Poland is very weak. They don't have any centralized government. And so you've got Frederick the Great from Prussia, and you've got Joseph II from Austria, and you've got Catherine the Great all looking towards Poland for land. Now, they understand each other's desire for this land, and they want to kind of gain it without causing war. They don't want to go to war with one another to get Poland. Okay, so they come up with this plan. Poland is so weak that Russia, Catherine, Frederick from Prussia, and Joseph of Austria, they all get together and they develop this plan. And what they're going to do is they're actually just going to take chunks out of Poland, okay? Chunks of land. If you look at the map, you can see where Poland is. You can see what borders Poland. You can see Prussia and you can see Austria. And these are two rising countries that are becoming pretty powerful. And to avoid war, they kind of take off those little pieces of land. You can see it in kind of the light orange. Okay, so they see this and they're pretty happy about it. They get the land that they want, but you know what? Eventually they realize that they're not satisfied, and they move on. And in I think it's 1793, 1792 is the first partition. 1 year later, 1792 is the first partition. Sorry. So 1792. I thought I wasn't going to screw up this time, but what are you going to do? Maybe next time. And then there's the bell to add to it. Okay, so 1792 is the first partition. 1793 is the second partition. If you look, Russia and Prussia, they take a little bit more. And then finally in 1795, you've got the third partition. So Prussia, Austria, and Russia, they all take the last bits of Poland. So from here on out, from 1795 on until actually 1918, Poland is pretty much gone from the map. You will not, the country of Poland does not exist. They don't establish themselves as an independent nation again until 1918, which is a pretty long time to be non-existent, a non-existent country. Okay, so Russia, Prussia, and Austria, they kind of absorb the Polish people. Oh, here we go. Let me pause for announcements. Okay, you guys, sorry about that. So now you've got the disappearance of Russia. You've got Catherine the Great, who's had some pretty significant expansion. Is kind of what she's known for, is that she has created a warm water port and she has taken a chunk of land from Poland. So she's expanded Russia and the empire. Internally, she created boys and girls schools, she codified the laws, she organized the government, but she still kind of squashed serfdom, and she kind of sided with the nobility in terms of taxes and in terms of them still controlling their serfs. Okay? I will see you guys. Have a good weekend, and I will see you Monday.